This is Tax Debt Consultant with the godfather of tax resolution with enrolled agent Carlos Samaniego. It's time to put all of your tax problems behind you using plain and simple language. Carlos will show you how to reduce your tax debt and get the IRS hitmen off your back. And now, the godfather, Carlos Samaniego.
Hey guys, Carlos Samaniego. Wanted to talk to you this morning about a really important subject. I was driving down from the mountains, and if you guys have been hearing about the terrible snow and storms in Southern California, I actually live in the mountains of Southern California. And I was driving down. Today is the first clear day, and I was driving down the mountain, and I was just thinking about two clients that I've been helping. One had submitted an offer and compromise, and that's what we're going to talk about today, offer and compromises. One client had submitted their own offer and compromise, and they had hired me roughly a year after they had submitted the offer and compromise. And the first time they did it, it was denied. They did a second one, and they were still waiting, and they had no idea what was happening. So they had actually hired me to assist them, or at least to take over the case for their offer and compromise. So that's the first one. And this is two elderly people that live outside the state. The second one was a local person lives here locally in the Inland Empire. He had hired me because he had hired an attorney to help him do an offer and compromise. And the reason he came to me is because the offer and compromise was denied. So here we are. We have two individuals. One tried to do it themselves. The other one hired an attorney to do it themselves, and they were both denied. And here's what's interesting about this. In both cases, I noticed, within minutes after just looking at the paperwork that they submitted, that they were going to be denied. And the reason I can actually look at that and notice that right away is because I'm experienced in dealing with IRS collections, dealing with offer and compromises. And we know exactly what the IRS is looking for. And there's just way too many times that I think people get this impression that the IRS just negotiates debt, that if you give them for the debt that you owe, that it's a negotiation process. As an example, the original couple I was just talking about, I noticed that the offer was a few $1,000s, and I'm just like, where did it? I literally asked him, where'd you get that number? He goes, I thought that was a good number based on what we owed. So he just made up the number on the offer and compromise. Now, the second client, when he came in and I noticed his offer and compromise that was denied, I looked at the number, going through the paperwork, I looked at the number, and the number just looked made up based on the amount of money that he owed, and it was just a round even number. The number was $5,000. And even the client thought something was wrong. The client was thinking, well, I just thought it was just too low to offer based on the amount of money I owe. See, and that's where everybody's getting it wrong. The IRS goes through a very detailed process analysis to determine whether you qualify for an offer and compromise. They're looking at your income. They're looking at your assets. What's assets? Do you have equity in your property? Do you have savings, 401k, retirement account? They're looking at all those items. They're looking at the amount of debt that you owe. And there's calculations that's involved for them to determine what they think would be a legitimate offer. It's not this made up offer that everybody believes. And you know what? I don't blame the general public for believing this. I think there's just way too many advertisements, TV commercials, radio commercials, fresh start, pennies on the dollar, we'll negotiate your debt down. That's not how it works. Yes, an offer and compromise, the IRS does have an offer and compromise program. Yes, that program works. And that program works the way it's supposed to work by making sure that you submit all the correct paperwork and you do the analysis to determine what the offer should be. And there's many people that won't qualify. If you do the correct analysis, they can be told ahead of time, you are not going to qualify for an offer. That's one of the things we do, is that we analyze those numbers before we submit it. Because what you guys don't understand is that these offers, you have to qualify just to submit the offer. And I don't want to go too much into detail, but here's the key thing. When you're submitting an offer, you have to qualify to submit it. What's qualification? The last 6 years of tax returns have to be filed. And there's some nuances there if the IRS filed those returns on your behalf. But all your returns have to be filed. You have to make sure that if you owe estimated taxes for the current year, those are paid. That's one of the small nuances that have to be done to make sure you're even qualified to submit an offer. And it's just sad that these companies are selling everybody a bill of goods, giving them all this hope, thinking that, oh, the IRS is just going to settle their debt, and they're not. They may not even be qualified to submit the offer. And I tell people all the time, the big challenge with offers too, the IRS has been backed up. There's been a lot of things that's happened. There's been COVID and recession. There's not enough people at the IRS. They're backed up. Everybody's backed up right now. And it's going to take time for an offer to be submitted, or not only to be submitted, but it's going to take time for it to be processed by the IRS. Heck, it could take anywhere from 9 months to a year for them to do that initial look for it to be assigned to what's called an offer examiner. So this podcast is just to warn you, be careful of a lot of these scam companies that are popping up all over the place, making you believe that you're going to qualify for something. They haven't did a true analysis of whether you're qualified or not. They're charging some huge, exorbitant, just large fees. And some of these companies are charging you large monthly fees because they know it's going to take time for the IRS to even take a look at this or be rejected. I've seen cases where people have hired these companies, finally get the letter from the IRS saying you didn't even qualify for it to be submitted, and the company is gone, and they have no way of getting their money back. So the power of the offer of compromise, it's a big thing. You know what? It's a powerful tool, and if you qualify, it's a powerful way to get rid of a good majority of your tax debt. But you have to qualify. And you want to make sure you just don't fall for all these scam companies out there. And they tend to be some of the larger companies out there. What you want to do is seek a qualified professional that is experienced in handling IRS collection cases. That's experienced in doing offers. If you call them or you sit down with them and they look at they can do a quick overview whether you can qualify or not. In most cases, I can give an idea within about a 15 to 20-minute phone call whether there's a possibility. There's no guarantee, but we could say whether you're wasting your time or make sure the person that you're talking to or working with is a licensed either attorney, a CPA, or an enrolled agent like myself. Those are the only 3 people legitimately that can represent you before the IRS. So I personally believe that if you're not talking to that person that's going to be representing you, there's a red flag. If you're thinking about an offer and compromise, or maybe you've submitted an offer and compromise and don't know what's going on, you can't get a hold of your company, feel free to book an appointment here with me. I'd be more than happy to do an initial consultation. There's no cost. You just go to taxdebtconsultant.com. When you go there, top left corner right there is my calendar. You can actually book an appointment right now. If you haven't picked up my book, taxdebtbook.com, make sure you go pick up that book. It's a great book. I talk about the offer and compromise in there. I talk about the things that I've just talked about here on this call, but please don't get scammed. Make sure that you legitimately qualified to submit an offer. Watch out for these scam companies out there, and we're here to help you if you need some help. With that, have a wonderful day, beautiful sunny day here in Southern California. Finally, no rain. We've had rain and snow nonstop here for about a week. I'll talk to you guys later. Until next time.
You can always reach the Godfather, Carlos Samaniego, at taxdebtconsultant.com or call him directly, 909-570-1103, or on Facebook. Look for the Tax Debt Consultant. Make sure you pick up his book, How to Make the IRS an Offer They Can't Refuse, on Amazon. Remember, you can live the life of a good fella once you take care of your tax problems. The Godfather is here to help.